Today's a perfect day for baking because it is a little bit cold and wet outside. We're expecting some heavy rain, and I thought, well, let's turn on the oven and bake something. As always, you want to start by preheating your oven at 350 today. Today we're going to make a mandarin orange upside down bundt cake. I've sprayed the pan with pan flavored butter, put brown sugar on the bottom, then arranged the mandarins in the little grooves of the bundt cake, and then I took a little bit of the mandarin juice and drizzled it over the oranges, and so that's why it looks a little wet. Here are the ingredients. It's 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, 2/3 cup of 2% low-fat milk. This is a 1/4 cup of canola oil. This is 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a pinch of salt, 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla, bourbon vanilla, and lastly, 1 egg. So I put all of the dry ingredients into the mixer and just kind of combine them all. So this is the flour, the sugar, the baking soda, the baking powder, and the pinch of salt. The next thing will be to add the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, and then I will mix them. So there's the milk, 2/3 cup, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, the egg, and last but not least, 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla. I stopped it for a minute to scrape the sides, and I'm going to turn it back on. And I'm going to beat it probably for about a minute until everything is well incorporated. Okay, so the cake batter is now officially done. Instead of just dumping the cake batter into the pan, I used a spoon to gingerly lay it on top of the mandarin oranges because I don't want them to get moved around. Remember, this is supposed to be about presentation as well, so I want those to be very specifically laid so that it looks pretty when the cake is turned upside down. So that's it, it's all done. Now it's gonna go in the oven. Really quickly, I'm gonna show you what it looks like. 31 minutes later, there it is. Okay, so there's our cake. The reason why the edges are a little bit dark like that, remember, is because of the brown sugar. Look at that. So I'm going to let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes and then I'm going to invert it. So let's cross our fingers and hope it worked. I wanted to show you this really quickly. Remember that we sprayed it with Pam? The reason why you do is because see how it's now nice and loose? Now you don't have to worry about your cake sticky, and it's gonna come, or it should, pop right out of the pan. There it is. Instead of the pineapple upside down cake, it's a mandarin upside down cake. Now this doesn't need to be frosted. You can serve it exactly the way it is. Oh, it looks like one of my little oranges took a spill there. Or you can just maybe dust it with a little bit of powdered sugar right before you serve it, which is what I think I will do. Okay guys, one last thing about the upside down cake. Anytime you make an upside down cake, whether it's mandarin or pineapple, anything like that, you want to make sure that you don't let it sit too long before you invert it. Because what happens is the brown sugar is caramelized, remember, but once it gets cold, it hardens. And when it hardens, it makes it hard for it to release. So sometimes the pineapple or the mandarin, whatever fruit you used, will kind of pop up or it'll stick to the pan. So really, you only want to let it sit 5 to 10 minutes while it's still warm so that when you invert it, it comes right out. All right, that's it. Happy baking.